the things that we wanted to talk about was the social anxiety element to some of this. A few weeks ago, I put on my stories like a little survey for people to take on just getting some input of the workshop series, and had an opportunity for people to write like any preferences or questions, comments, concerns, things like that. And several people wrote in and were like, I have a lot of social anxiety. Like, can it be like constructed in a way that is sensitive to that? And I just want to recognize, like, same.
Yeah.
Like, I think so many people experience social anxiety, and that's part of the barrier and the comfort of just being like, I'm not going to go on this walk, or I'm not going to go, to this workshop, or be in community, or, ask this person to go out to coffee or whatever it is, because there's so much, like, our brain starts to get in the way of like, oh, but what if this happens? Or what if this person shows up? Or what if I say the wrong thing? Or whatever it may be, like all the what ifs start pouring in, and it creates a huge barrier and prevents you from like actually making connections.
Absolutely. And, as you were saying that, I'm thinking about too, like maybe when we're in difficult seasons or we're having a hard time, and we have this like story as well about how like it's going to be so hard. I'm going to have to talk about the thing. I'm going to have to like be vulnerable in that way, or like I just don't want to see anyone in this season of life or whatever it is. And I invite everyone to recognize that like that's exactly the season you actually need community in. And I know it like feels counterintuitive because the call to like go inward, cocoon, disconnect can come up like really hardcore in that. But like what's more uncomfortable, like sitting in your silence and like spiraling, or like going and connecting and getting out and being in the real world, like, really sitting with those, because ultimately at the end of the day, like we are hardwired for that connection. And this like concept of fear that like comes with social anxiety and comes with like connecting outside of like what's comfortable in our comfort zones, it's so real, but it's so like it's something that like the more we like just step into and like actually be brave and dare greatly, as Brene Brown would say, like the results. And yeah, sometimes I might be like, oh, okay, well, that connection wasn't for me or whatever. That can happen, totally acknowledging that. But I think what we find more often is like that was really nourishing in a way. And like maybe, yeah, like I need to go home and replenish my social battery now because I'm an introvert or whatever. Fine. Totally respect that. I'm an introvert as well. So I totally get that. But you're never gonna like know, right? And you're never gonna like find those things. I always used to say this when I'd be like, oh, I haven't met the love of my life yet. And I'd be like, I haven't left the house for a year and a half. I'm waiting for him to break into my home.
Yeah.
So like, are you waiting?
Highly unlikely.
Waiting for the love of my life to literally burglarize my home.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like, if you're waiting for like friendship or community or like that opportunity to like appear in your lap, I'm so sorry. It's not going to. We have to be vulnerable. We have to put ourselves out there. And I think in a way we all kind of have social anxiety, especially in the digital age, or at least we all do in this room, except for Burke. But because girl, same, like, oh my God. But I also think how it expresses itself can be so different for everybody,
Yes, I always think that's so fascinating. For me, I tend to get like really quiet, a lot more reserved. I'm just like trying to observe and kind of like feel out the situation. And I know there are people in my life who respond the exact opposite, where they become very lively and very full in their personality. And yeah,
that's me.
And that sometimes I think people are like, oh, you're so extroverted. And that's not always the case. Sometimes that's like, oh, that's like a social anxiety cue.